Good afternoon. This is Ifan from the Strategic Day Trader, and this is your market wrap for June 12th, 2019. We have about 7 minutes, a little less than 7 minutes until the market closes here. Market's gone sideways here since 10:30. You can see here that once we put in the lows here, we just kind of bounced and went sideways. Same goes for the Qs and SPY. SPY nearly unchanged, down 0.19, and Qs down a little more than 0.5%. Facebook's drop there, I'm sure, is part of that relative weakness in the Qs. As the Facebook loads up here. And so just to recap, yeah, here's, you can see when the news came out, Facebook down 2%. As we started off today, we came in with a neutral to bearish bias. Wanted to see yesterday's low get taken out. That did occur right away. We got the low taken out, bearish bias now in place. Okay, so we wanted to see a pivot break here on the hourly. We got it yesterday, and then I just want to see a little bit more follow through. Now we did kind of break below and just kind of pause here, so we haven't really gone anywhere, so that is going to keep the bearish bias in place, but just remind us that we are not necessarily all that weak. Okay, we talked about how the daily, yes, looks like it's time for a retracement for us to come in, but the weekly and the monthly remain bullish, right? They're in uptrends. Monthly's in an uptrend, and weekly's in an uptrend, as we've been just moving higher. We're just coming off of these recent new highs that we made earlier this year. So we are watching this hourly to look at what we might get over the next few hours and days, right? So we're going to be going into tomorrow remaining bearish. Okay, remaining bearish. Where would we lose that bearish bias? It's going to be on the Qs here over 183.80, and on the SPY we're going to be losing the bearish bias over 289.50. Okay, so market tried to bounce. This proved to be too much resistance for the Qs and SPY to get over at that time, and then market ended up coming back in. So if we come back up, we get over that resistance, back to a neutral bias. We'll see if we get any more follow through, and then look for the next setup. Okay, on the Qs and SPY. So pretty straightforward. Tomorrow, bearish bias. We'll be looking to see if we put in a higher low here. So I'm probably going to come in, look to see maybe in this area of overlap here to the left, around this 284, 285 area. We'll see when we get there what it looks like, how the hourly trend changes, and then when the hourly trend changes, if that breaks a recent downtrend, goes into an uptrend, we'll also have a buy set up on the SPY, right? So we're just using multiple time frames to get a read on the market here. Same thing as we do every day. Okay, so you can see here on the hourly, we're basing near the lows. We've broken the recent hourly uptrend, okay, and then daily is extended up, right? That was how many days of higher highs? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 days of higher highs, right? And then today we're looking a little bit lower. So you can see what we called for yesterday was that we finally had a trend break and looking for things lower, and not too late, I think. But just keeping in mind that this will be a pullback, but in the pullback in a context of a bullish uptrend on the larger time frames. Okay, so bearish tomorrow, not overwhelmingly bearish, not expecting these, this to fall apart or doom and gloom. It's just that we are expecting this to retrace more further before the next leg higher. Okay, and if that doesn't occur, if the bullishness decides to pick back up right away, this is our line in the sand here, where we failed on this hourly buy setup, where resistance was too much for the bulls to get over. And so if they are able to reclaim that, then we will no longer be bearish. Okay? All right, so I think we're ready to go for tomorrow. And I think that the market bias remains especially important, especially significant, okay, because I do think it does play a big part into what follows through, okay. We had two favorites going into the open in the pre-market here. Sammy's two favorites were the PLAY as a short and the MAT as a long. Both ended up setting up and both ended up being played and both ended up working quite well. The MAT was played as it bottomed right here. It was played over 1137, kind of as a secondary entry there. And then the play was played shortly after the open as it broke the opening range. So let's go to the 1 minute. We'll get a better look at these plays. So this was just a 1 minute high low here. Once it broke the 1 minute bar there, that was played lower. Could have also played this breakdown here. You can see nice tight bars here. Tight, at least for the PLAY. It does move around quite a bit. PLAY broke down there. And you can see that it's still relatively close to the lows there on the PLAY. Okay, and this is going to be the kind of bar that you're looking for, right? When you play it, you can see that it opened here. You want to play it near the open on a good gap like that. Opened at 50, or sorry, opened at, I was about to say that would be a really nice play, 42.81. You can see it's right now around 40. And then the mat, let's take a look at the 1 minute here, put in a base, and then broke out from that base on the MAT here. Okay, put in a base here. Gapping up, showing strength. Now, I just wanted to use these kind of as an example, but you really could look at all the gap ups, all the gap downs, and see the difference in the follow through. We had a bearish bias coming into today, so not that surprising that, you know, Matt not able to hold it, but well, market did stay near the lows, while the play, you can see a much bigger candle, bigger body, and better follow through there. So even though the Matt did have a nice move initially to it here, and enough definitely to be rewarding, that it wasn't able to hold up. So you can see that still the market is king. Market is something that we need to be aware of and not trade in a vacuum. You know, I had a person respond to me today saying how they were noticing the impact that looking at relative strength, relative weakness really played on their trading. And the example that we were looking at was the AMAT. So the AMAT was given not as an official play like the play in the mat, just was given as an idea here to play as a sell setup. All right, and this was I think one of two plays given out in the morning from me as ideas. And so the AMAT, you can see, was coming in for all of the first 30 minutes, showing minimal bounce there. But on the other hand, if you look at what the Qs did in the first 30 minutes, right? What the Qs did in the first 30 minutes here, right? Actually put in a decent enough rally, right? And more towards the highs. AMAT was basing more towards the lows. So that kind of thing is going to show you that unless, you know, it's something that has a direct inverse to the market, that when the market decides to come in and make new lows, the AMAT is going to make it even bigger move and continue that weakness, right? I think this even, yeah, closed near the lows here. Okay, so more so than I think at any other point throughout the year, we need to be aware of the market and have a good market bias. It's not that we have to be correct all the time, right? If I was 100% on the market bias, I wouldn't go over where the market bias would change, right? Because that's automatically assuming that, well, what if the market is bullish tomorrow? Where do we know to no longer be bearish? Where could the market prove us wrong, right? So it's not that we have to be correct. It's just that we have to be aware of it and be able to read the price action, okay? And sometimes it's not so clear. I think we were fortunate enough, or, you know, sometimes it's going to be easy, right, where it's just downtrending and then it's just uptrending. But now we're in a place where we have actual time frame conflict between the larger time frames and the smaller time frames. Daily and hourly look lower. Weekly and monthly are doing bullish patterns, okay? So that's going to be as common or even more so sometimes than when We are just putting in easy to read trends. Okay. All right. So hopefully tomorrow we get some more nice gaps. I didn't think there was a lot, but we knew what to focus on. Okay. So hopefully we have some more good gaps tomorrow, and then we'll see if the market wants to follow through to the downside and set up that pullback that it looks like it needs on the daily. Okay. All right. So we'll pick back up tomorrow, see what the market gives us, and I'll talk to you then. Have a great evening.